Good morning, my non-financial advisor friends. How are you this morning? This is Rocky Outcrop. I am your morning financial show. Over or under? Over or under? Get your bets in. Will he be 30 seconds late, 57 seconds late, or just a tiny little bit early? Going to have a quicker show this morning. Folks, going to get the Scots in right here, right now. Are you ready? It is morning time, 9 a.m. USA, 2 p.m. UKA. LFG. Same setup as ever. I'm here in the middle of the table. You're there on the left-hand side of the table. So I'm on your left, but the screen's flipped, so on the right. My screen that I'll be looking at is over here. The chat's over here. I'm in the middle. The chat's on the screen here. The thingies are there, and hopefully this dono jar that Jimmy and I were working on yesterday is awesome. Hopefully it works. We'll be taking a look at charts. This is Shibu. Hello, Shibu. It's not really been that short an opportunity. I mean, it's had short opportunities kind of associated with it. Sure, it has, but they've not come to any fruition. Really, it's just a case of the trend being your friend. You know, it's one of them. It's one of them, isn't it? Talking of which, Bitcoin dominance, how's its trend getting on? Something that I've not spoken about on the channel for a wee while. I think I spoke to Jamie about it yesterday. Did I speak on the channel about it? Might have done. 44 here, 45 is resistance. That's the 1 minute time frame. Not learning a lot from that. 30-minute time frame over here. Got this kind of little bit of a kind of potential for a turnaround area for us. Interesting one. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Isn't it? It is, isn't it? And the total market cap up here over 2 trillion again, 2.3 trillion. Spoke about the importance of 2 trillion back when, well, the other day there. So over here somewhere. What else was there that we were looking at recently? Let's just bring up GME, see how it got on yesterday. How did the prices get on for GME? Hopefully not so frickin' terribly. Have we managed to find support? So we're looking at this harmonic. We spoke about that. Jimmy cleared all of that up for anybody. All the busy apes and whatnot know all about that one. Got one over here on AMC as welly smelly up there at 37. Tiny little gap potential forming for us on the small time frames. Not so much on the daily time frame. And we are doing all right over here. This is obviously the stress period, as stress. You hope for things to turn around. Maybe we'll start to see some of that negative beta come into play. Here's the SPY. And of course, the markets had pushed down past their previous lows previously. Now, yesterday they did really, really well, but they didn't manage to take out that wick from the day before. So how will it go? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. We'll be looking at all of these sorts of things, I suppose. If you want me to do anything, be sure to get your chitter chatter in there or whatever for it. I'm looking forward to doing the bingo thing properly. Taking it slightly easier today, hopefully, and doing a quicker show. I don't know if we'll do the bingo or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, that's kind of the sort of things that we'll be looking at in today's show. Let's take a look at AHT, see it's getting on. 1407, slightly better than it was. It's what you want to see. Just kind of hide the drawings actually for the start of this show here. Yeah, so doing better than it was. Kind of, you know, hopefully pushing up. Hopefully pushing up here. Oh, how phenomenal the TA is, Rocky. Look, this is where we're looking for the bounce on this one. Taking out the 1490-15 area. Does start to push us into the zones where we can look towards 16, 17, etc. onwards, and then trending moves on this thing are extremely lovely for everybody involved in it. So far, it's managed to do enough to not F the system up. So as long as it doesn't, as long as it continues to not F everything up, then we're pretty happy with that one. What other ones are there? ME, how's it been getting on? Oh, it did push a little bit low, but then as well, so long as it does also continues to not F the system up, then we're doing all right on that one. And today being a bit more positive. So can we get that? Can we get that sort of that bounce on some of these chaps? Can we? Can we? Chaps, come on, chaps. Hey, chaps, come on. Get some of that bouncing action on the go there. Talking about bouncing action, then I suppose it's only fair if we're going to be talking about bouncing action. 153. That's how much I got from the timer before it timed out or whatever on the screen. Ha! Not that it matters. We're still rolling here. Yes. So Night Fitzpatrick did. Ooh, a donation came in. Then that popped down and that didn't work. Damn it. That's annoying. That's not the right thing. So let's hopefully we'll start seeing that working. Damn it, why is that not working? Have I broken some rules? It worked in testing. Jimmy told me before I started that his one didn't actually work as well, so that's a bit frustrating. Good morning, Phil, says Jimmy himself. Mike Fitzpatrick, thanks so much. Good morning, Rocky. Looks like you are feeling a bit better today. Looks like, No, I'm still feeling Jenny from the block over here. Let's go over to where the money is. Let's get the money shot. Right? Let's get the money shot. Shout out to Homer's ghost. Let's do it. Oh, by the way, if you don't know what it is, we're about to do some squats. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you all here. Do the same. Get that blood flowing. Got 57, 59 viewers tuned in live. That means that there's going to be people tuning in later on saying, have you done the squats yet? Oh no, I've missed out. Oh no, I've missed out. Well, you know, it's because they're truly, what it truly is that they're just lazy, despicable people. And that's why they're not here doing the squats with us right now, right? So we're going to do them. And then they'll feel that extra sense of shame knowing that all 63. Oh wait, actually, people are tuning in. I'll give everybody 2 more minutes. I'll give everybody 2 more minutes to tune in. 2 more minutes. 2 minutes. Oh wait, is it broken? There's me singing a song. Boo. Right, is it still working though? Because I got somebody in there saying, "Oh, f off Streamlabs." Is it maybe because you got banned? Maybe that's what it was. Boo. Okay, right, sweet. 69. That's the magic number. It's squat time. Maybe that should be the rule. We get to 69 concurrent viewers, then it hits squat time. Squat time. I'll do the squats over here today, actually, so that you can get keep the squat cam. We'll have the chit chat on the screen. What were these? Balls. Join the stream without hitting the like first, like a fanny. Morning, Stephen. Dancing time. Right, great, cool, nice one. Banana Fridge. How you're gonna have to chill out there, Banana. Countdown. You watched that show, Rocky? Never heard of it. Countdown? What's that? Bedum, boo. Let's do it. 13. Oh, you can see all of me. Right, cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. 11. 12. 13. And we're back. Fresher than ever. Woo! Good morning, family. Good morning, Kim. Oh, wow, Rocky. You're pretty long. I'm a tall guy. I'm a tall guy. Some people don't know that, actually. Funny enough. Funny enough. Did a sort of got feedback one time from people. People seem to think I was short. What's that all about? Back in the charts. So what's this thing? 23 and me, 23 and me, 23 and me, 23 and me. Let's do a squat for each like. Oh, can you do that? Can people do that? Have you hit like yet? I can see that there's 78 viewers. 66 likes. Doesn't look like it. Knackered. Thanks, Rocky Outcrop. You're welcome. You know what? I'm pretty knackered too. Did you notice during those I did them all like the last three? Instead of doing the last three, that's why I didn't say to everybody during it, make sure your last three are good, because I did them all like I was doing the last three. So, jelly legs for me coming up. Feeling good though. Thanks for everybody for doing them with us. It's cool, isn't it, to know that around the world there's a whole bunch of people doing stuff, different time zones all around the world. Squats for stonks. That's us. That's us that keeps the prices up, everybody. Really good job. Things out there in the world to look at. 649 on THETA, something we've looked at recently. Not managing to follow up Bitcoin with the big rise up in terms of crypto, unlike Shiba, obviously. Just doubling and doubling. What have we got over here as well in terms of this, all these things? Bitcoin itself today, this bearish divergence that's on the go here. It's like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, but if things want to do what they want to do sometimes, then sometimes they just want to do what they want to do. It's one of these things in terms of looking at charts that I talk about from kind of time to time. Really, that during any trend, during a trend, we love to talk about things like how, oh, we're aiming up here to the sort of 1618 or whatever particular Fibonacci extension up towards the top side and saying, oh, this is great and everything else. And we quite often talk about these things in and around about these points. Now, on the show, really, I'll very clearly talk about the about how we could be aiming towards one of those zones, but we know that there's a cutoff in between, which could lead to one of these higher lows, etc., along the way. And of course, you're going up towards these zones and you're saying things like how there's another cutoff here where it could lead to potentially, something like that instead, where it starts actually trending down the way. And then, of course, then you've got this like next chunk of the move, and then you've got the kind of the questionable area from when you're looking up the way zone as to where exactly will the high come in at, And then once you're up there, you've got the kind of fairly identifiable zone of at any given stage, where you'd be potentially looking at for cutoffs. So then, this kind of keeps going up, this cutoff zone, as the prices themselves are going into that kind of where are they going to turn around zone at. And then of course you're kind of looking at the same thing again with this really being the area at which you kind of start to feel a bit like this. It's not so great to be in that zone. My hands swelled up like two balloons. So it's not so great to be there as you're waiting for things to potentially, you know, and do you some damage, because you're kind of looking in that zone between into this kind of Helvetica area down here, because you're looking down to where your previous low was, etc. Along the way, structure and stuff like that. The point really being here that this side of things is fairly comfort zone, really. After a while, for new traders, it's definitely not. And actually, the new traders get this completely kind of the wrong way round, so they don't think about things necessarily the right way. But this here is actually fairly rudimentary in a sense. This here, you know, whenever it was like $145 for GME, and I'm playing Lewis Capaldi and saying "Hold me while you wait" and all this sort of stuff. Now that's it's actually extremely difficult to actually time the pivots around. Now, if you when I say this is easy and point towards the top, I'm talking about when you're in a long position and you're in profit. It's kind of stress-free comfort zone stuff, even though you know you mess it up at the start. But then it's really kind of, you know, scary down here. Then actually, you know, the being able to predict where the markets would turn around at is incredible. It's very, 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 very tough to do, and that's why it's always just kind of best to kind of just go on the assumption that the trend is your friend, and why things like parallel channels and diagonal lines, etc., dominate technical analysis that you see out there in the world, and of course why horizontals have got such a huge influence over how you might potentially think about price action, because it's this general matrix, this tartan, hey, if you like, on top of the price action itself, which really dictates how you're going to manage and manage your risk at any given time. Because the assessment and kind of, in a sense, of technical analysis is to identify what the trend is, and then of course to run with it. In this case, in this example, it would be a trend towards the top side. But again, the crucial part of it, always in the trends that you're looking at, comes in at these danger zones, these points that when things could turn around, and you're looking for a number of things to have happened at this time to give you that sort of confirmation that things have turned around, you know, in a certain way. So then to jump back over to that SHIB USDT chart and talk about something here. This is essentially a kind of a chart which is running at the minute with a really strong trend, really strong trend. Now, this is a really strong trend, which is one of those Dow things where, like, after a certain period of time doing technical analysis, it's actually fairly rudimentary to start, you know, kind of understanding the irrational aspects of markets. Hey, Dow was it Dow? I think it was Dow that says, or maybe it was Warren Buffett that says that the markets can be irrational. Was it JP? Was it JP that said? Actually, it was JP that said this one. The markets can stay irrational longer than a bunch of monkeys eating bananas, or whatever it was. You know the phrase. And that's true. This is one of these ones that you haven't necessarily seen, because when you get used to doing technical analysis, after a certain while, you kind of, that irrationality kind of goes away from the market. So you kind of see that there is a general kind of thread of rationality amongst all markets that have within that standard deviation of irrationality. I guess kind of just human nature. And here on this particular chart, what we're seeing is that the prices have moved towards the top side, giving us, you know, chunk of bearish divergence. And you could think in a sense that while the markets are irrational, blah blah blah, that to answer sort of JP in that sense, that once you've had 1, 2, and then 3 of these things, that you maybe expect to see a pullback, which is greater than just simply like a 236 Fibonacci retracement. But during this phase of time, that's actually not what happened. And then the markets then did this and sort of then continued to be irrational longer than a bunch of monkeys eating bananas, or whatever it was. And by going in here and actually then managing to burn off some of that divergence, again as well, looking along the way and having to identify things like just in here, that this has got hidden bullish divergence at this low just here, which is not immediately obvious, I suppose, with the whole hidden bullish divergence do that. And also other things to notice are that the stochastics themselves during this period of time and the MACD itself, while it was at times kind of divergent between little bits, was actually kind of moving towards the top side. So a lot of kind of like this question of irrationality and what the best thing to do is during a trend. And well, it's quite simply put, is to stick with the trend and trade with the trend. So one of the great ways of identifying this, and I know it's not everybody's favorite indicator, of course, is the Ichimoku Cloud. I can just pop off the moving averages. Now, I talked about moving averages quite a lot already this week. Here's Ichimoku Cloud, and this is a broader term time frame, relatively speaking. This is crypto, it's 1 hour time frame. Yes, it's not necessarily a long-term time frame, but what you're looking at is a heavily trending market. This as well, it's been so liquid recently, as you can tell from the volume down below, with this crown of volume over here, as you can see the crenellated tops of this magnificent rise. What it's showing us is that it's obviously a very strong trend, and the cloud itself has been quite far away, but you can of course use the moving averages, if you like, of the Ichimoku Cloud to stay within positions. Kind of, you know, you can see here so frequently coming back down to touch off of the conversion line there, for example. Now what you can do though is look down at the smaller term time frames where you are going to see a good degree of interaction with the cloud. And here is just one of these examples during trending markets when it got a heavily trending, fairly quickly moving market with a good degree of liquidity there, and you know that there's a trend. It's fairly easy to identify, and you're looking at how you're going to actually operate, how to control yourself during that phase of play in the markets where you've got the markets trending, and we already drew this in earlier on. And you're asking to yourself in these zones, if of course, if you're going to long on it, is this where you're going to start to feel a bit, with the charts in at that zone or not? And indeed, if you're actually looking to short the thing, when you could be shorting it and how you could be operating. So this is the sort of thing that's good to know. And why are you using the cloud in that sense then? Well, what you're doing here is you're of course coping with this phase of price action where it goes to the lower zones, and you're thinking to yourself, holy smokes, where's the cutoff going to be? Where's the good entry going to be at? How am I going to actually position myself here in order to take advantage of these highs along the way, etc.? How would I be able to do that? Yada yada yada. And it's by actually finding a way of looking at the lows during the uptrends to understand how things are going. And this is another way when you get used to understanding these sorts of practices. Whenever I kind of actually normally when I talk about hidden bullish divergence, I actually like to say it's no more hidden than any other type of divergence. And in here at that low where we had that hidden bullish divergence, had you been looking along the lows here and using something like the Ichimoku Cloud, you might have thought to yourself, well, hey, hold on a second. Actually, you're coming in here at the edge of the cloud and we've got hidden bullish divergence on the go. This could maybe rise up again. And what could you then maybe therefore do if you were looking for price targets? Well, you might remember that kind of little kind of thing that I was doing at the start there, where I drew in a Fibonacci and just kind of talked about these upper targets. You could have been looking towards the 1618, for example, up there for your next movement up. Again, here you could have been looking up to the 1618 for your next movement up. You could have been looking all the way up actually to the 3, and in fact to the 4.414. As you can see here, we've just come in and perfectly hit off of that 4.414. Now, all the way along the way here, you're obviously going to be looking out for technical entities, if you like, such as the hidden bearish or the visible bearish divergences, etc. along the way, as ever, because there will be a time when the piper has to be paid. It does happen eventually, and you can see that right now, for example, over here in Shibbly Wibblies, what do we have? Well, we have, of course, some bearish divergence here in the RSI, but we've lived this story before, have we not? We just did it a second ago, talking through it. But what did we notice on the way up here during these divergences? Well, actually, that the MACD itself wasn't divergent, and that you got periods here during the stochastics rise up here, this period, where it also indeed wasn't divergent. What do we have just here then? Do we have divergence? And how might you think about it in terms of like, well, could we see the prices of this thing moving on to sort of 38 now, or 38 now? Could that happen? or could we see prices actually pull back down and test off the cloud, and then of course as well test push on down a little bit and maybe get a change of sort of some conditions. Now what would actually represent a change in conditions is looking back the way, what can we see in this entire zone over here really is that in the phases where you could be looking for the prices to actually remain bullish and stay low, they've actually just all flung, the stochastics is flung mostly back towards the top side with a good degree of alacrity. Over here, you can see as well in bullish phases in the market where you're looking for this zone to be turnarounds that actually has been during these periods recently. So what you could say, I suppose, in a sense over here is that you'll be looking for that to kind of extend down the way and actually start to see a changing conditions where we actually start to phase here and down and stay down in these negative zones. Looking on the bigger term time frames, then if you were looking to turn things around, then you can see clearly what would be a wedge on the stochastics here. And I say clearly, but you should really actually be able to see that, even though I've got it all drawn in on top of it. It really is really quite springy looking, isn't it? And you can see then therefore that you can see then therefore in this zone over here that there's a coiling up of sorts happening. It's an amazing ice cream cone pizza slice that jumps out at you and says, "Hey, do you want to dance?" So this is all happening for us right now, and we can see that there's a phase building up in the markets where maybe we need to have a correction. Although this is of course being extremely bullish, extremely positive. This most recent rise up that we've had here is actually, quite low on the scale of things. Looking back, we haven't had a rise up that's been so low on this since the prices were like, 70 odd percent down from where they are now. So this is a potential area which has got a bit more potential in it than t'others that we were looking at with things. Now, obviously, this is the 1 hour time frame. What could you be doing? You could be looking at that cloud miles away from it at the minute. It's not like people are trading off of the cloud on this time frame. You want to trade with a cohort, and where are they? 30-minute time frame. A couple of times it's come pretty close, but not quite, not so much, not really. Trading with the cohort on this one, I suppose, at the minute then in that sense, simply means that you can go down to the 15-minute time frame and keep an eye out for that if you are actually looking to trade this on a really small small term time frame basis. And like that's how you could maybe looking at the cloud as well. We've had a bounce here, therefore would you be looking down to at the minute? Perhaps if we did see this operate as one of these turnaround zones, it'd be down here towards the 33 level, whatever that is, all the decimal places, 3. And how does this fare in terms of movements? When we talked about the inclines that we've had up here. That was a massive 4.414. Well, overall still from that high where we had recently at that 4.414 and where we've got to so far, whereas that, well, it's just 100% retrace, as in it could potentially be one of those doubly top areas. Now the body closures up here are higher than those previous body closures. That's where a bearish divergence is coming in from. That's where this could potentially get a turnaround at. And then of course you're looking at the potential for a 10% move, and this is a counter trend move. And a counter trend move means a number of things, one of which, quite simply put, if we look down at the 5-minute time frame, is that you could get burned on this so easily at 3,218 or all the zeros 3.2 instead of going down to that 3.0 or that 3.1. You could easily get burned on this 618 golden pocket edge of the cloud right now at the 5 minutes. How you would need to think about, well, if you came down to this area and say, for example, push back outside of the cloud again, like over here, and then you push back outside of the cloud again, you just relinquish your trade, perhaps, That sort of a thing would be the way that you'd be thinking. And of course, as well, if you wanted to look at it even more strictly, you could say to yourself that if you're looking for a stop loss, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not me telling you how to trade this thing right here and right now. This is me doing analysis and telling you how educational and entertainment stuff. So that would be how you'd be looking at this. And then again, here, if you're looking for a stop loss, etc., you could use it based on, well, if you're looking for some sort of arbitrary, or at least sort of, so to speak, not related directly to your position size or anything else, you're just looking at this and saying, where could it be at? You could talk about the cloud again as operating like that for you on this 1 minute time frame, as we look back and see that occasionally you do, of course, break down beneath this, but the trend is to the upside. We know that. So any corrections during an upward trend are going to be associated on a smaller term time frame with going underneath the cloud. But what's it not going to happen? It's not going to trend underneath the cloud. Therefore, we don't want to be taking the negative cross symbols on its first bite of the cherry. You're looking at it, you're saying, well, the first lines could go down, come back up, test it, look like they're trending, and then break it on the second attempt, etc. We've seen this sort of thing happen so often along the way here. And I say that without actually knowing that that's the case, you know, in advance from having looked at it, but knowing it from just analysis. Okay, so we got a nice bit of a trend here for a wee bitty here, coming down, testing it, breaking up above. Yeah, that was over straight away. That was over there at that test. Over here at this test. It's that sort of thing, you know. 1 minute time frame. We've got a lot of flashes here in the thingy, and a lot of these are getting filled in, but a lot of them are being left on there. It makes me wonder if it's just all like part of this drive towards the top side. And final note on this one is that with this irrationality that we're seeing, which is obviously quite extended, I would say that there's a good chance that there's a solid cohort of people like the likes of, you know, Mark Cuban. Is he even a Cuban? I don't even think he is a Cuban, but he calls himself Cuban for some reason. And his pals and the other ones out there, like, you know, Ivan on Tech, that runs a boiler room that costs several $1,000s a month to be a part of, where you do precisely this sort of thing. And these sorts of people, they also do sort of nefarious activities because in manipulating markets, right? So in a sense, you could say that this is one of these ones. Now, what you want to see when you're looking at a manipulated market, because all markets are manipulated all of the time, is that they're, you know, playing by the rules, if you like. So that kind of question of irrationality. And the final thing that I would say about it is, in terms of the conversation I'd have with JP about how markets can stay irrational longer than your bananas can stay monkeys, is simply that the best operators, then the best stock operators, the best market manipulators, comply with those rules. They sail close to the wind. They put on things like some bearish divergence. You know, they push it, they give it that once, that twice, that 3 times, and then they let it cascade down. They sell into that themselves. They do it properly, and then it becomes more organic overall, even though the movements in the market are manipulated by them. That's the sophisticated way to do it. When this happens, it strikes me as being slightly somewhat unsophisticated, and it ends with big burns. It always ends with big burns. Now, it doesn't matter if it's unsophisticated. It could just be simply so poorly coordinated because it's purely a retail thrust. It could simply be that. But there's kind of examples out there to look to, and this would be the sort of the end section of that. And here's another token which does fantastically well so often, very, 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 very much so. But we've got examples of this sort of a thing. If I jump up to the 12-hour time frame, so I can see like a bit more price action history here, you can see the same sort of moves up. Here's 12-hour time frame, so you're seeing like loads of moves, like all the way from here, woof up the way. But during this phase of price action, running really, 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 really strongly, and then on the sort of lower term time frames over here, just going back to the 1 hour, for example, and trying to find so this kind of all of this stuff, and seeing the phases where you're getting this, and it's not necessarily it's unsophisticated market stock operators or anything else, or it's retail cohort not working together. None of those things necessarily matter, really. But you know, you get these effects where you're seeing that the price is moving up the way, and you're getting all this divergence, etc. And you're seeing these kind of artifacts of bearishness being completely and absolutely ignored, and that's just one of the components of parabolic markets, you know. And it's that when it's irrational, and so often when it's like such a low liquidity thing that turns into that, as opposed to like an irrational run on an index or something like that, then it's this type of thing that happens. Therefore, we're only going to trade with any trend to any downside if there actually is a trend, and that's how, and we're going to look to more significant areas of market structure for that. So sort of end the SHIB section here at 3337, and see how that all kind of fares with regards to what we were talking about then. For right here, right now. Oh, Rocky, are you looking at the prices right here, right now? Yes, I am, sir. And I would say this is like Pool Dark. Did you ever watch Pool Dark? The English guy that lives in the mine. Hey, oh, Pool Dark, sir. We've got some water up in the mine up here, and all the bread's got wet. What are we going to do about the wet bread, sir? We need some bread for our cheese. If we don't have any bread for our cheese, we're not going to be able to eat any bread for our cheese. Pull dark, sir. Anyway, so yeah. So are you oh, Pull dark, sir. Are you using the baseline and conversion line on Ichimoku Cloud at the... I can't fucking be arsed doing the accent, sorry. And it's not even doing the accent well. It's just making noise at this stage. We're looking here to see, can we, push underneath these, underneath this baseline on the Ichimoku Cloud as an initial starting point. Then you're looking to the cloud itself. You're looking for support at both of these areas. You're bullish on this thing until such times as it isn't. It is what it is until it is what it isn't. It's what we say on the show, and we know how it goes, and that's what we're doing. So, oh my goodness, sir. Aren't you looking at that baseline, sir? I've got there's an Ichimoku Cloud down the mine, and it's stopping us from making any of our mining stuff. Sarah Steino, great job, Rocky. You're killing it. You're killing it. I could tell you the TA, but I'd have to kill you. Matt Kors is live. Go drop some Rocky Outcrop ads in chat, says Shadow of Lepton. That's funny. You're not saying it to me, though. If people want to do that, that's all good. Best community on YouTube. Thanks so much. Aye, that's Pull Dark, sir. Wait, there's some... Oh, no, sir. Lions crept into the mine last night, and we're now going to have to invade France to get it all cleaned up out of there. I don't even know. I mean, I can't even bother. It's been years since I've even watched the show. If I watched the show, I could do the accent. I don't watch it, though, sir. Oh, no, sir. We're just dropping down below the baseline maybe at the minute. Maybe then, therefore, we might be going to test the cloud. But, oh, we're looking and we're expecting to find support here because we're bullish on this until we isn't. Because it is what it is until it is what it isn't. 36 minutes in, hey? Oh, my goodness, sir. The markets have opened up, Poldark, and you haven't even been looking at them, sir. Oh, jeepers. Oh, gap filled it, right, went up, pushed a bit higher. Oh, how good is that? That's nice. The little flash here on the doodads makes you wonder, will we come back down then to 169.74? We're not quite done with this area yet. Not quite done. Not quite done with that area yet, sir. Anyway, that's that opened. AHT, ooh, pulled back here. Did it? Wait, is that what I'm looking at? Ah, it is. Nice. Pulled back. Where to? The cloud. Oh my goodness. It pulled back to the cloud, sir. Pulled back, sir. It pulled back to cloud. What's that mean? It means we've had a retest of the cloud. Now we've had the chance for these things to cross again, which means it gives us the chance to take a signal off the back of this. This is just saying, maybe we've got a good retest of this thing. Maybe so that'd be cool if this was that was more positioned more bullishly for us. Then it can give you an idea. Can kind of give you an idea. Chit chat. It can kind of give you an idea if you think about it like a skier skiing down the slopes. Of the ski slope. No, not a skier. A ski jumper. That's what we'll go with, a ski jumper. Give you an idea. Ichimoku Cloud, like a ski jumper, right? Okay, so it's not complicated. It's just like a ski jumper. How did you not know that already? Yeah, it's just like a ski jumper. So what you have is a ski jumper. The Ichimoku Cloud is like a ski jumper. And the prices are like a ski jumper. So you got your skier here. Well, we're going to make this one work. And he's got skis on. Whew. Oh yeah, 2 skis. He's got arms, and he's got ski poles on the end of those arms. So he looks a bit like an alien. And he's got a grim determination on his face. Like that. But actually inside he's really happy. He's just concentrating. And he's wearing a hat. Now, he's going down here and he's looking for a jump up on his ski jumping, right? So that's the analogy that we're going with here. He's looking for a jump up, and He needs his skis. He needs his skis because the construction of a ski, the key to this, understanding this is to understand the construction of a ski, right? So we'll just quickly make note of that real quick, right? So you've got your typical standard ski here, and it goes along like this. That's the flat part that's on the snow. But then at the front, it's got this tip part. And what this tip part does is it catches on to Ichimoku Cloud's scoopy jump bits, right? So back down on the charts, you're looking and you're saying, right, this is going to go down, and then the front ski bits that go up are going to catch on to this bit, and it's like a ski ramp. Now, we all know how a ski ramp works, because you've got a skier. Right, so you can see the skis a bit better this time. And he's got 2 arms, and on each arm, he's got a ski pole. He should be bent over a wee bit. Those arms make it, those ski poles make it look like maybe he's traveling backwards, but he isn't. This is the direction of travel here. This is the direction of travel here. Instructions with my drawing. He's wearing a hat, okay, and you go down the way, and really what you're looking for is for a big thing like this to happen, so that you can go off, and then you can go and you can do that thing, right? You can do that thing, and you know what it's like. They look like this, and then and the arms are down like this, and their poles are down like this, and the skis are up like this, and they're like, and they've got this, and their face is turned to a great big smile. Over here, it's a grim look of determination, and over here, it's turned to a great big smile. I like this analogy. I don't even care if the analogy itself works anymore. I just enjoy drawing a skiing guy, and then it goes away off. Right, it's great. And that's the Ichimoku Cloud. That's the Ichimoku Cloud right there. That's the essence, the very essence of the Ichimoku Cloud, because not a lot of people know that the prices themselves actually have skis on the front with that curve, and it's crucial to understand the key component of the Ichimoku Cloud is the curvy part at the front of the skis. Well, you know, in a sense, and metaphorically speaking. So down here, what's happened, and maybe we're on here. So we just need to make sure that we've got kind of a good buoyancy at this stage. We've got our hat on, yeah. We've got our body leaning right back. We've got kind of feet, I suppose. We've got kind of arms, I suppose. We've got skis on, going whoosh up the way. 2 of them. We've got a face with a joyous look on our faces. Joyous, ladies and gents. Joyous. And that's what the Ichimoku Cloud is for. Of course, should we actually encounter a bird, right, then there's big problems. Big problems. You know this yourself. You know this yourself. I mean, the last time you went ski jumping, you surely were nervously looking out for any birds in the way. You do this if you've never been ski jumping before, then you wouldn't necessarily think about this. Of course, all of us have. When you're at the top of that hill, you're looking out, and people looking on think that you're thinking stuff like, "Oh my goodness, this is crazy to do this. I'm probably going to die." It's not what the ski jumpers are doing when they're up there. They're looking for birds because they don't want to fly into a bird and hit one on the way, because that ruins everything. It makes this whole ski jump crap. And we know what birds look like, right? Birds look like, so I'll just go back over here to our ski jumper thing. Birds look like this. That's what birds look like. We've seen birds. You've seen birds before, right? You know how it goes. There's birds around. It's kind of like how you've got the sun, and that's what the sun looks like. The sun's got a few different faces. That's basic sun, right? You've also got this is also I mean, there's classic sun, and then there's then there's cool sun. Okay, so the sun. Okay, you recognize it. It's the same ways that you recognize clouds, just like the Ichimoku Cloud. So you might have a cloud that looks like this. And that's a cloud, by the way. You know it's a cloud and not anything else because it's got other clouds attached to it. So you might have clouds around. You might be going up the way, and then there's this thing here, and this technical entity here, and there could be many of them. But this technical entity here is known as a bird, right? And birds happen all the time. Birds happen all the time on charts. It happens all the time. So you know, for instance, right here, there was a bird right here. You can see the bird right here. So can you see the bird? I don't know if you can see the bird yet. Maybe my color of my pen at this stage needs to be changed, because you know how it gets a bit messy in here at times. But it's a lovely bird, and we're having a great time with the bird. So I mean, it's well worth having. It's good having the bird round, and but hopefully, you know, we'll just, you know, be good to see the bird again. And this is the bird here, you know, for example. And you get birds all the time on charts, right? And they're all over the place, being birdie-like. So obviously you don't want to see. Now that's an example of a bird for the ski jumper. You know, the previous ski jumper, the previous ski jumper, the one that would have been here, with a grim look of determination on its face, coming down the way, going, yo, buddy, yo, down here, wow, okay, fuck yes, and then up the way. And then what happened is, right here, you know, right here, as everything was looking great, and it had its hat on, and it had its face, and a great big smile on its face, had skis going up the way like that, ooh, skiing up the way, had arms and poles pointing back, everything was great, whee, like that. What happened though? It met a bird. It met a bird right in there. And these golden arches, these golden McDonald's arches. Now this is actually the chart upside down, but it's the same concepts every time. That's how you know you can apply this in both scenarios. So just flip her back again. Flip her back over, as you do. And yeah, of course, now you're looking and you're saying, we don't want to come across any birds. So if we come across any birds, we'll be looking out for birds. And that's what we're all about. Now you understand the Ichimoku Cloud and the interaction that, of course, your ski jumper can have with potential sort of M-shape patterns, etc. on the charts. So that's what you're looking for. So over here on SHIB, hey, SHIB. Hey, SHIB. Over here at the minute, we're kind of asking questions about whether or not we've got one in here. What's the prices? 3429. So you know, any given time you're looking out for sort of birdies. Now this isn't a very good birdie in here, but it's a potential birdie. But we can see that we actually found support. Did we need it? Where was I looking before? Not the 15. Where was it? The 5 minute down here. Yeah. So we didn't actually break past the Ichimoku Cloud conversion and baseline. You might not be able to see it on your screens, but there was a cross just here, a negative cross between the conversion and the baseline. Not that really matters necessarily, you know, because you're not trading. You wouldn't be trading off the back of negative crosses in this scenario where you're up above the Ichimoku Cloud with everything going along, lovely jubbly, etc. With none of these birds. I mean, the thing about it is that you can see how this bird is at that angle, and this is the one thing that went left unexplained. And it's maybe necessary for me to bring in another analogy for you to understand this one. It's not that complicated. That's an airplane, and you know how airplanes turn around. They bank, right? Birds do the same thing. They bank. So a bird that looks like this is actually a bird which is turning around that way. Woo! A bird which is fine when you're in an upward trend. It's kind of like sailing because the wind comes in from this direction. So if you're turning this way, that's called going about in a boat. So it's the same sort of thing. It's like you have to bank, and it's the same as when you're in a boat. Now this is a boat, and when a boat's traveling, we can say it's its rudder or whatever, and we can say that the boat's going that direction. And the reason it's like that is because the wind's coming across the boat here, and it's pushing the boat that direction, okay? And then when the boat wants to turn, if it turns with the wind, if you can imagine it turning with the wind, right? That's called going about when you're in a boat. And that's easier because the wind pushes you around. Now, if you're in a boat and you're looking to actually turn around, maybe that sail wasn't so great. I'll actually put a sail like that so there's no directional bias on this. So the wind's coming at the boat like this direction, and obviously it can turn left really well then, but because the boat's traveling in this general direction. But if the boat wanted to turn right and try into the wind, that's called jibing when you're a boat. That's called jibing. So if you want to bank your boat into the wind, you're going to have to jibe it through there. Now, what happens whenever you're turning a boat normally is you have to say to the rest of your crew, ready to go about. And then the rest of the crew says, yes, I'm ready to go about. And for this part of the demonstration, I'll have to draw a boat from behind. So this is us looking at a boat from behind, and there's its mast. And at this stage here, the sail's off to this side. And you've got the crew guy here sat on the boat just over here, okay? Now what his guy in the boat's doing, he's holding onto a rudder. And the wind's coming at this from this direction. And he wants to turn left. Now he's got another crew member on the boat with him, etc., like here, sat on the boat. Now, from their perspective, the sail's further away from them. Obviously, they're towards the back of the boat, and the sail's in front of them. Wind's coming past them, making their hair blow in the breeze. You know, it's really fantastic, and they're enjoying the day out. By and large, having a fantastic time. And they're traveling away from us. We're in a boat behind them, looking on. And this guy here, he says, are you ready to go about? He's the captain here at the minute. And the other guy, the crewmate with him, says, yes, I'm ready to go about. You have to say, ready to go about. And then what he does is he pushes the tiller, he pulls the rudder, the tiller. This is attached, it's a stick. So the way that rudders work is that you've got a stick like this, attached at a point to another stick, attached to a board that goes into the water. And this part of the stick is called the tiller. And this part then attaches to the rudder, and you push or pull it, etc., and it makes the rudder move in a particular direction. Now you can have them without hinges as well. So what the type of boat? So if you're in a for instance in a dart, then it would have a hinge in the middle of it. And to actually get the thing to move, you'd have to push it in the opposite direction to what you might otherwise think. Whereas our sailors here, as you can so clearly see, I mean, for instance, there's two of them. It's got a nice wide back on it. It's actually a wafer. And it doesn't have that extra hinge on it. So on the tiller here, then he's obviously pulled that tiller towards them, thus making the rudder itself point in this direction, which then turns the boat to a leftward side, and it goes across. Now at this stage, they've announced it. Another guy said he's ready. And this part here, and you have to understand at this stage how a mast works, right? So you've got a mast on a boat, and it looks like this. Now, the sail will attach at the top here to the top of the mast, no problem. But to get the sail to work properly, you need another stick coming off the mast, and the sail attaches down to it here. And this other stick is called the boom, okay? And so the boom is attached on our little diagram here, just in front of and beyond the passenger on the boat. And what happens here is the boat goes to the left. Right, so then the boat is now traveling this way afterwards, and the boat then looks like this with the sail off to the right hand side, and the boom itself has it's traversed all the way from one side to the other, coming past this other crew member's head above it and over and beyond your head yourself, which is why I have to say ready to go about. Now, however, it's a different scenario when you're jibing, and that's crucial to understanding, you know, the whole thing about when the plane is banking over to the right, and you're looking at what the interaction your skier will have on his ski jump with any birds that he comes across, because obviously the price has to bank left and go into the wind, and or go against the wind, or go with the wind, sorry, I should say, and therefore go about to keep going about its business. But if it wants to stop going about its business, it's going to jibe, and when it starts jibing, then that's when you want to be out of your trade. So you're looking out for any jibes, and jibes are going through the wind, and jibes work in a very, very, very different way. Now it's quite similar, but it's very different, and this is the crucial point you need to understand, right? So here we go. So we've got a boat here. We've got a boat again. We've got a boat. Let's draw it in again. Oops, that's not a very good. It's not a very good one. It needs to be very good, otherwise people won't get it. So we've got a rudder, or whatever, or rudder there, and whatever. Now we've got a sail, and it's going like this, and we have a crew member here, and we have El Capitan. So this is para Baila la Bamba. It's the singer in this instance is this guy. He's the captain with his hand on the tiller. So he's the one that says, "No, yo soy marinero. No, yo soy marinero. Soy capitan. That's that guy on the right. And he says, "Para bailar la bamba, solo necesitas una poca de gracias." And that's quite simple, really. What he's talking about is that to jibe your boat against the wind, so the wind is coming from this direction, you're turned into the wind here, then what you're going to experience is a completely radically different movement with the boom itself. Okay, so the boom is going to have a different interaction with the wind, because at this stage, and I'll look at this from above, you've got the wind coming in from this direction, and here's your boat. Okay, and the sail is catching the wind like this. It's moving into the wind to try and sail like that way. So the wind's going to keep coming, and then it's going to push it's going to be pushing on the sail. So it's back in this direction again after it's obviously gone round, except there's a period in between when the wind is catching it and it's pushed it one direction into the middle and then back again. So this is what happens during a jibe. And you have to say, so this guy says to the other guy, "Are you ready to jibe?" And then the other guy says, "Ready to jibe." And then the boom swings into the middle and then swings around again, which can be very, very dangerous to all the crew members on board, this guy, the Capitan and Marinero. So that's why it's crucial to explain all of that, right? And that's why whenever you're looking at the interactions with the prices, you're looking for the birds that you're coming across to be banking to the left and going with the wind, as opposed to necessarily actually going through the wind, because of that flux that can happen to the boom, which is very dangerous to all the passengers on board and the crew, and it's typically what would happen in around about these areas. So as you can see, live as we talk about this, we've now actually come back down to that 3,200 or something price point where the cloud itself is, and the captain has obviously at this point said, "Are you ready to jibe?" And the boom is obviously swung from a sort of a safe position out with the actual boat itself into the boat, possibly catching some of the crew along the way had they not been prepared for the jibe, before potentially swinging back again and actually doing the same damage all over again. So this is why it's really crucial to understand, there's a significant difference between turning a boat one direction and the other. And indeed, as you're flying your plane, you need to continue to bank with the wind. Now, it is the case that you've got on the back of a plane. Now, this is a plane from behind. Like you've got sorry, that's not very good from plane. It's just moved it slightly. It is the case. So your plane from behind is going to look a bit like that, with a thing there and a thing here and a thing here, right? It is the case that you've got the ability to change the back panel of the back flap of a plane. So this part here has got the ability to turn a bit so that you can actually, rotate in the air one direction or the other without actually having to bank the wings. And that's possible. That's absolutely possible. That's called yaw. Now, if the prices have to start yawing as well as banking to get out of the situation, then you're in for trouble, because yaw as a word itself is a pretty kind of boring sounding word. It's not exciting and continuing on up the way. It certainly doesn't have the same sort of ring to it as parabolic or lift off or take off or indeed bank. So you want to keep banking as opposed to yawing. And if we start yawing, then you could start, of course, yawning. And then if you start yawning, then of course you could fall asleep. And falling asleep is the next thing to die in. It's like quite close to it's like being dead, almost. So that would be that, right? So you if you catch yourself yawning, and at the same time you're bleeding out, make sure you imagine a scenario where somebody's right on top of you saying, "Stay with me, stay awake, stay awake," and you're like, I think I'm gonna go to sleep, and then they stay awake. So that's the difference. That's essentially the difference. That's your TA essentially on SHIB for right now. I hope that it breaks things down for you somewhat. It should certainly be somewhat somewhat revealing anyway, at least in terms of kind of understanding and managing, moving with the trend on the Ichimoku Cloud. Now, what actually did I say there throughout that massive extended analogy joke thing? Say that you go with the trend until the trend has ended, that the prices moving through the cloud, etc., are going to signify that when you kind of catch onto them. Moving through the cloud is significant. You're going to be looking for it on a decent sized time frame, knowing that movements away from the cloud at such a parabolic rate could obviously go back to visit a cloud on a larger time frame, maybe just 2 or 3 times larger than the one you're looking at, but have to move significantly further away down to get to actually meet those prices. Because when the prices of a market are moving fast, moving up the way fast, like the ski jumper that's finished his big run down the way and is ready to go, and they're flying up towards the top side, then of course there's going to be a big distance moving away from that skier and the ground down below, where that ramp was previously. They're going to start shooting away off on the larger time frames. While maybe on the smaller time frames the clouds remains closer to them, but that distance, because it's moved up a bunch, it's just simple geometry. It's moved up in a shorter period of time, so the angle is going to be bigger between where it was and the past was over a period of time. So the cloud's further away, so you'd have to fall further to get there in a bigger time frame to find that support. So you're looking on these smaller time frames to see, do you actually beat down below it? Then indeed, if you do, you might go down, you might be underneath it once or twice before then coming back up and trying again. Why? Well, because you're looking up to those larger time frames to see the interaction of it there on that way. And that's how you're going to have to understand how the prices move. And then obviously that's the key component of understanding trend, because that's all we're really trying to do. It's all we're really ever trying to do. And to kind of go right back to the very start again, the skier, or the prices when they're moving, we talk about it often at these zones, and it's fairly easy to talk to it. You're in your comfort zone when you've been long in something and you've gone into profit. It's down here at these zones when you start to feel a bit sketchy about things going on. But actually, there are methodologies such as looking at clouds of jobbies underneath, where the prices can come back down to visit, and indeed even go inside for a while, etc., along the way. And then that you're actually still going with the trend, trading between the easier areas along the way. However, at some points then, sometimes you can go down and into and around and through the cloud and find yourself underneath the cloud. And then, of course, then sometimes you can come back up and retest the cloud and then go down a bit more afterwards. And then, of course, sometimes then you go right through the cloud and you got the cloud beneath you. And what this looks like on a larger time frame, again, is that you moved away from the cloud, and then the cloud was over here, and at this stage it was that far away, then it was that far away, and then over here it's that far away, and really your movement down the way is coming back down to retest against the previous level on a larger time frame, because markets are moving rapidly and across a series of time frames, across a series of as the time. What is time? What is time? Just to explain this one so that everybody's definitely following along with every explanation. Time is the planet, right, moving around the sun and spinning on its own axis. So time is two things. It's the calendar. So what date it is your position in space relative to the sun. And what time it is the position of the planet with regards to where you are on the planet versus the sun, right? That's what time is. And time happens in these blocks as we have decided to understand them in terms of our view and how our brains interpret the world. That's what time is. And then when things move rapidly in a period of time, then obviously these projections, well, obviously they will begin to move rapidly. There'll be a bigger distance between them, creating a scenario where you see this sort of thing happening an awful lot. And therefore, to then go back to yesterday's show to kind of finally finish things off, that, well, you can do this here. It's very good to see all this happening as we kind of talked about this, because earlier on we spoke about how this could be a wee bit of an area to move around at and stuff. This is cool. Then you can go back to doing other things like looking at the moving averages. I'll just pop on the moving averages now, hide all the drawings, and I'll just show you, I'll take the Ichimoku Cloud off the screen as well so you can see, and then you can say, well, hey, look as well, there's plenty of things you can do. Once you go down below this area, you could be aiming down to the 200 simple moving average, just to see if you find support, as so often happens as part of a trend. And you're also then looking for these lines which were previously moving like that or whatever to then cross over and then not uncross or whatever. So you've got moving averages going up like that, then they go 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 like that or whatever. And that's not started happening yet at all, anywhere near it. And we wouldn't be until you broke past 30, 31, and so on and so forth. And if you're looking for a big short on this thing, you've got a parabolic market. Parabolic markets work in a certain way. This is actually going to do for the show tour today, pretty much. Parabolic markets work in a certain way. You can get this, you can just use simple sort of techniques to kind of establish how a market can move when it's parabolic. It doesn't really matter too much. By the way, drop a like for me educating all the other YouTube streamers out there, please. Drop a like for all the education that I do for everybody else. You can imagine the amount of YouTube streamers that find my channel and think, oh my god, this is fucking gold dust. Every second. There's some honest ones like Jackson Hunter that will tell you that he takes out a notepad and writes down stuff and says it. Or Tyler S in crypto, 300,000 subscribers, who'll tell you that he's learned stuff from me and watched the channel and I taught him a lot of stuff. There's honest ones out there. And then there's other ones that aren't. Where's the fucking curve tool? Arc. Is it called arc? No, curve. Right. So you see how this curve here sucks? Nothing in the world's really like that or whatever in terms of these things. So yeah, this curve here is nice. Looks nice, looks good. Yeah, it's good curvy curve. Nice curvy curve, right? You're going to see something like this happen with parabolic markets. Now, the curve itself can never go back on itself. Markets can't go back in time because this is time to the right-hand side. Okay, this is time. This is something that doesn't go backwards. It doesn't matter how many movies you watch. It doesn't go backwards. And then of course then you move, you see a period of sideways price action so frequently, and you move beyond it, and then of course you've broken the parabolic curve. When you break a parabolic curve, now this is a bit of an extreme example, it'll be more like that, more like something like that, right? Perhaps even probably more like that would be a better example or whatever. When you break your parabolic curve, having had a market that moves towards the top side, then you're looking at a movement from the low that you had before it all started up to the high of you're looking just down at the 886. You're looking for an 80 to 90% retrace in the markets at that point. 80 to 90% retrace in the markets. Now you don't always get it, but oftentimes you do. Over here on the one chart, big massive movement. Now we could say that it went from parabolic from being over here. It's not necessarily fair. This didn't have that 80% retrace, obviously, by the way. You can say it went parabolic over here and broke things, but in terms of the trend here, you can see that it's actually more like, actually tell you what, you can see here there's a heavily trending market, but it's more whatever. It's like this, still on, still kind of on. You know, it hasn't really necessarily broken it and done that full retracement as yet, and it's still kind of good. That sort of crap. But in terms of this movement just here, and it didn't do an 80% retrace either here. It's worth noting as it happens. From this movement just here, then obviously it had a retrace. And the idea this parabolic curve thing doesn't really work on this asset, to be honest with you. Doesn't really. But the idea being simply along these sorts of lines that simply put, you're looking at the markets kind of curving up the way parabolically, and just as a simple just analogy almost, or just breaking this visual kind of demonstration of like the idea is that you're moving up, it's up and away, and then it's when it breaks this kind of feature, this saucer up towards the top side, then you see massive movements down, and so often they're 80%. Now it wasn't an 80% movement over here, but it was certainly a significant movement in terms of like percentages and all the rest of it. From that high to that low, what was that? Oh, it was an 80%. It was 80%. Oh, sorry. It's because it's a logarithmic chart. I fooled myself. Sorry, hold on a second. Let me just show you this properly. There you go. That's what I'm talking about, right? Now, that curve no longer works because of the parabolic chart changes the curve look. But you get what I mean. Now I can show you. Ah, that's good actually. There's the lesson properly demonstrated with a good example for it. 79% that went down. 79% from that high. Brilliant, fantastic, rip-roaring successfully, wonderful, fantastic. You know, up here you're thinking to yourself, this is good and everything, but do you want to be in the trade? Not necessarily. You don't know, then boom, down the way. And that's what we're looking for to happen over here on SHIB. It's what we'd be looking to happen on anything that's parabolic and moving massively. And I suppose then to go back to what we're talking about so many times before, and one of the reasons why I so very much like GME overall here is that this is a very nice looking potential long upward trend. It's not like huge, etc. Blah blah blah. It's not fudged. It's not McFudgend. What people see here when they're looking at it on the linear chart is this insane drop down and how awful and horrible and everything else it was, and fair enough. Fair enough. But what you can see as well when you're kind of looking at this from the highs to up here, that we're so living so far above the key areas. You know, the 236 in here at 140 sort of thing that Jamie and I talk about all the time has been important. You can see I've presumably drawn a line in here at the 382 at some point for some reason in the past as well. So you can see I've been looking at these things. Big drop down in prices was huge, right? Was huge. Well, down the way, 92% and all that. That happened, and then afterwards it recovered. Afterwards it recovered and recovered up the way. Afterwards it recovered. So it didn't end the overall upward longer term trend. It didn't end it. It's kept going. It's kept going. So like that's a massive thing. It's just like a massive thing that it's kept going. It's like it's just massive that it's kept going. In the same way that in the same way that people would talk about Bitcoin back here between the period of 2017 all the way up to like 2020, really 2021, really, actually, to be honest with you, all the way up, because nice parabolic run, nice retracement afterwards, down to there 69%, down to there 84%, you know, down the way. So it's like another big deal up, and then across a longer period of time, eventually going not only recovering 100%, but actually going all the way up as high as a 1618 Fibonacci retracement against that entire move. You know, eventually, this is Bitcoin, and I think generally speaking, people are pretty bullish on this asset over the long period of time because of like loads of reasons, but not because it's got like shops and sells stuff and whatever else, just purely on a speculation basis, and that alone, which is kind of interesting dynamic. And then of course, to just as a simple therefore comparison point, where in terms of like, well, you know, what happens if the paradigm shift changes? There's your 100% retrace. There's the 1618, and that's in at $2.5 grand. Like, that's just, you know, just talking about how these things can happen. And when after they've happened, people look back and they're like, but how could you have possibly have talked about it in sort of in those casual terms? And it's like, well, that's how you can talk about it in those casual terms, right? That's how you can talk about it in those casual terms. And while the prices are above 140, you can talk about it going at 2,400 with a straight face and no problem. You're not talking about $19.5 million Elliott Wave short squeeze target or any of that sort of stuff. You know, Buy and Hodl, for example, in the chat often says in the thingy, and if you're watching right now, because I've not seen, hiya, mate. If you're not, then whatever. That's cool. But people often talk about this idea of like, how can you get people to understand things? It's like, well, in a parabolic moving market, you see big retraces down the way, but then afterwards they tend to just kind of die off for a number of years, having had the parabolic move. Jimmy talks about how you could get two big parabolic moves happening, you know, within this relatively short period of time, as a unique thing happening on this asset. That parabolic move would take you up to $2,400. And what do these things look like back in the day? You can see the same thing on the Bitcoin chart. The big moves that happened, taking up to $1,000. Then we watched it drop all the way back down to $100 after being at 1,200 Bitcoin prices, losing 90% of its value, then going up, running up the way. The furore, the craziness, the hype that happened around Bitcoin at $2,000, $3,000 back in October 2017 before running to $20,000. The despair that happened at $3,000 in December 2018 before running eventually to $12,000, $15,000 or so before the pandemic. Then the pandemic happened and pushing the prices back down to $3,000. The despair again before running on up towards $55,000. And people talking to me all the time, all around the world, talking about $100,000 and etc. And these moves, then the move that happened there between $1,000 and $100, where it lost 90% of its value, seems like so irrelevant in the context of the asset's life. Could GME be the first stock to do anything that's similar to that? In a way, I would like to see it happen. And one of the big distinctions that you see, obviously, between the GME rise up where we are right now versus, you know, vis-a-vis versus, or with respect to the Volkswagen short squeeze, is quite simply that you can see that the distinction between what happened in January, what subsequently happened afterwards with the parabolic correction, and what happened after the parabolic correction was continuation of the previously bullish trend. That's highly unusual. It only happens in a few assets, and that's why it's very, very exciting. In some ways, I've done more TA today than most people could possibly stomach over the period of a couple of weeks. I actually wanted to take it easier today, but I haven't done so. Thank you to the person who's doing the chapters. I believe that's Apple. She said she wasn't feeling well earlier. Now she's feeling all right. Speaking to her, because she thought she wouldn't be able to do the chapters. And there was me thinking, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do the show, you know, either. Like, I'm feeling... So I'll try and just take it easy and see how it goes. to then here to have done that again. I can't believe it. I always seem to pull out the bag on the days whenever I'm feeling most to myself like there's no chance that I could give any value today. I think to myself, no, it's not true. I believe in myself. Just go on there. You'll surprise yourself. I get to the end of the show and I look back and I think, that's incredible. I've surprised myself. The quality in today's show is unquestionable, which is nice. If you're looking for me to do any technical analysis on anything in particular, you better get your questions in now, because I'll be tuning out. And I want to say thank you so much to Sarah Steino for having dropped in a couple of super chats there. You've said thanks, great job, and you also just dropped another one just to say thanks again. That's really freaking awesome. Really freaking awesome. I appreciate it an awful lot. So we're an hour and 20 minutes into the show right now. Thank you again for joining me. If you have found value in this, maybe you could share it with a friend. Maybe they'd enjoy it. Just take the say we end in the next 10 minutes. You could say to them, there's an hour and a half there you could spend looking at something. It might advance your understanding of technical analysis. The guy does that quite a lot. You might think he's nuts and not actually want to watch again. That's totally fine. It's horses for courses and all that sort of stuff. But if you do actually kind of, get on with, watch along, these kind of crazy squiggles that go on the charts over not that long a time, really, a month, start to actually make so much sense that your whole life will be transformed when it comes to looking at charts. You'll never look at a chart the same way ever again. That's the experience that I give people. It's the magic eye. The magic eye. Did you ever do magic eye charts? I couldn't do magic eye art stuff until I took DMT for the first time. Then I was able to do them. And before then I couldn't. I learned. And it's a transformative experience that now I can do a magic eye thing all the time, and I see the image. It's like not that long. It takes me maybe a wee bit longer than somebody who's a complete natural. But I can see the hardest ones ever, like the most ridiculously difficult ones. I can understand what's going on there and see them, and it's amazing when you can see them. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. I always grew up thinking that what people said when they talked about magic eye pictures, the magic eye pictures I'm talking about, by the way, the crazy drawings that are just like just noise, just looks like white noise or colorful white noise on a really nothing. And you stare at it and you get it just right, and your eyes go just the right way, and then boom, you've got a 3D drawing in front of your face. I just thought it was rubbish. I didn't realize that it was 3D, like proper 3D. Like you could look at it and it's like it actually looking at a 3D hologram, like the like what Nintendo 3DS intended to be. Like looking at this thing and seeing a 3D picture in front of you, it is mind blowing. Mind blowing. I thought they were liars, but they're not liars. It's real. It's the same thing with the charts looking here, by the way. That's what people get at the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. The quality in every one of your shows is unquestionable. Yes, it is. Thanks so much, Shane DeBoost. It's really appreciated. Really awesome. So funny, actually, watching, seeing that. Your average video, Shane, where you clip Jamie, gets more views than my average cryptocurrency video would. In fact, I could show you my channel. See on your YouTube studio, Shane, you can go in and you can go average view count, and you can see what your average video views will be. They'll be similar to my own, right? Incredible. It's incredible. So yeah. Right. So yeah, again, another shout out to everyone. Thank you, Shane, says Tradespoint. Yay! Thank you, Shane. Thank you so much. Derbaum, I prefer magic mushrooms. Man, I don't prefer or recommend any sideways drug or any upper or any downer. I'm really not into any of them at all. Wouldn't recommend any of them, to be perfectly frank with everybody. That's really generous. Really generous. Thank you so much. I wouldn't recommend any of them. I don't endorse any drugs. This isn't me just saying this for like YouTube terms of service type nonsense. I don't recommend any. It's coming from a guy who's had a couple in life. Wouldn't recommend any. 9 down, 49.99. Thank you so much for that. Really love it. Nice doggy in your picture there. Amber, thanks so much. Top quality every day, Rocky. Thank you so much for that as well. Massively appreciatado. Banana Fridge, sips tea, bloody hell. Marco Baladov, hey Rocky, been watching you for a month or two now, and serious everything almost else is fucking BS. Thanks for the live streams. You're welcome, Marco. You're welcome indeedy. What are we sat here? 3:24. I will be tuning out at 3:30. That's happening, by the way. That's happening. Jiu-Jitsu guy says my only drug is squat cam. Yeah, thanks, Amber. Cheering cheering on Nine down there. Thanks so much, Carissa. Asking not even weed. Don't be silly, Carissa. Of course, weed's not. Weed's not. I'm not including weed in that. Nah. When I talk about drugs, what I mean is drugs. So I mean everything like alcohol and above, right? But you know, drugs, and that. When I don't mean like I don't include paracetamol or aspirin in there with drugs. You know, I don't include those things. I don't include things. It's funny as well in a way as well. I think I probably would also say I don't include laughing gas, and and DMT definitely is so powerful that it would be included in it, but almost not because it's over straight away. Big thanks for the channel and all episodes. Helps a goof like me a lot. Never tried DMT, but this can't be more expanding than watching this channel. I would hope not. I would hope not, because all that stuff that people say about things, it's like, I mean, it's good if you get like if you can see the magic eye stuff, but yeah, you ain't going to learn anything about anything from drugs. Like not really, not like the drug of life itself. Life itself is the drug, man. Life itself is the drug. That's what's going to teach you everything. You want to go on some journey? Start here, start now. Just do it. Do 13 squats and hold them all. Squeeze your ass on the way back up. Helium. Helium's not a drug either. Laughing gas though is what I was talking about. Nitrous oxide as well. Whoop! And just to kind of make this show, just to show you how good it is to do what I do all the time, and what you're looking to get to, with your trading, ladies and gents, is to be able to. Well, I mean, ultimately, you don't have to be able to do what I do with your trading, right? You don't have to be able to get to the point where you're able to draw ridiculous pictures on a chart of skiers, planes, boats, go into an extremely detailed description of what it is for a boat to be turning against or with the wind, all to be able to make this silly kind of joke of drawing a bird that looks like an M relate back somehow to the analogy of a ski jumper flying through the air and hitting a bird and losing their trajectory. You don't have to do that, right? You don't have to be able to do that at all. But it would sure probably be nice to be able to imagine those things as you look at the chart and make yourself laugh in periods of what is otherwise extreme stress and anxiety for most people. Hemingway, my favorite author, called it Grace Under Fire. That's, of course, what Robert Jordan in For Whom the Bell Tolls had. Chris Sweeney, here's a tip from some scotch for a hot toddy. Thanks so much. Thanks so much. So yeah, that's what Hemingway called it, Grace Under Fire. Currently the prices of Shibu, since talking about this and since talking about the thing and that today, and how you would go about looking at it, have dropped 18%. I would feel a little bit crap about I'd feel a little bit crap about the way the show had gone in a sense in terms of quality, perhaps had I not in the background during this entire thing had a short on SHIB on the channel account, which yet again you didn't quite do. And I've made throughout the duration of this show $400 whilst talking to you all. So thanks very much for tuning in and witnessing me making $400. That's pretty neat. And I guess I'll just I'll take half the profit off the table just now on that one. Run the outro chat. Run the outro chat, do the reverse roll call, and I'll be here again tomorrow, Friday, for another one of these episodes. This is what we do here. We actually are pretty good at what we do, by the way. It's not all talk, it's not all funny squiggles, it's not all funny drawing. It's us together. We're the rising tide. You're the rising tide. Thanks for being a part of this. Christy, legend. Thanks so much. Ha ha ha, says Chris Sweeney. Alex, haha, yeah. Rocky 6, says the Shadow of Lepton. And look at that. Look at this. Look at it as we talk about it. Now, I would have rather, you know, tell you, it's difficult. You have to compartmentalize when you're doing a live show. Sorry. I mean, I find it difficult to remember what camera I'm looking at, right? I think the rational, self-aware trader who knows that they struggle to remember what camera is live when they just hit the button would be able to recognize that perhaps they're not operating at 100% brain capacity power in order to establish whether or not they would take all their profit off the table, etc., at that moment in time or not. I'm not right there right now, but I am going to tune out in the next minute or two. So I did half, right? But anyway, nice one. See people laughing. That's awesome. Fat Keanu, thank you so much. We also got by the way, Chris Sweeney, thank you so much for that. Here's a tip for that scotch. Thank you. And Vic Vince, thanks for that tip earlier on as well. Chappies, there, thanks so much. Rocky, you're welcome. Tradespawn, I broke half my hand with a silly board. You're welcome. Fat Keanu, raise your hand if you dumped SHIB 5 minutes ago. Shane DeBush, keep doing what you're doing. So much respect for you, Shane DeBush. Thank you so much for that as well. Reverse roll call time, ladies and gentlemen, and try the next time you're doing 13 squats to squeeze your bum on the way back up. Remember, a plane always likes to bank, and sailing when you're sailing, turning into the wind is called a jibe, and turning against the wind is called going about. Remember to ask all the crew on board your boat before actually executing the maneuver if they are indeed prepared for it. If you're on your own in a boat and it's extremely scary, the weather is frightening, it's snowing and sleet and hail outside, the winds are faster than gale force, everybody's had a warning, there's 12-foot swells and you're in a one-man boat on your own, sailing towards the south of Ireland with the only thing stopping you from going there, a massive British warship pointing its guns right at you, and you're absolutely shitting and scaring yourself. It helps if you say those same things out loud to yourself, talking from experience over here. Oh my god, that was a ride. Pam the Trader, thanks so much. Rocky, Shane DeBush, thank you so much as well. To all you people that tuned in, Dober Mamba, you're a great guy, good to see you. Onum James, you're a good guy, good to see you. Alex, you're the best, heart to you as well. Dead Boy, Chipmunk, Carissa, thanks for tuning in. You've got Amber, you've got Tradespotting, you've got Marco, you've got Ben, you've got Mudson, you've got Bad Mama Jama, you've got Electro Boy, you've got Der Baum, you've got 9 Down 13. Thank you so much for that, $49.99. That's really appreciated, massively appreciated. I appreciate the donations I get on the channel to about 5,000% more than the money that I make trading, because this is a social thing, and I'm also a descendant from monkeys. So thanks to all of you. I really do appreciate you tuning in. It's been a fantastic show. I've had a great time. Share it with your friends. They might learn something. You might learn something too if you watch it back again. Thanks to Apple for putting the chapters up. I'm really tired. I'm really fucking burnt out over here as well. So I'm going to go now and have a nap. Yeah, I think I deserve one. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time. Hit like on the way out. I said, hit like on the way out. By the way, I'll see you in the Discord as well if you want to see me there one time. You can see me. Join me in the Discord. Oh, actually, last second, before we go, little bit of news. And thanks, Stephen. Wow, that's awesome. Really appreciate it. Little bit of news. Discord. If you have not hit the peach because you're a grandfathered account, you're losing that this week. Also, this is the last week that it costs the value that it costs at the minute, the price that it costs at the minute, and that basic Discord thing. It's different all around the world because exchange rates, whatever it is. This is the last week of that. This is the last week. This is the last week of that. Next week, the prices are going up. This is the last week of that. This is the last week of that. Next week, the prices are going up. This is the last week if you're a grandfathered account to claim you're human after all. This is the last week. Afterwards, you're just a normal account. Same as anybody else. Same as anybody else. Think about it. The moderators there, they don't know who you are. You've not spoken in there for months. Think about it. Think about it. Use it now. Use it or lose it. Use it or lose it. Use it or lose it. Use it now. If you've not got that and you need help and your grandfather's account and you need help, get in touch with me. Just do it. Do it now, because this is the last week for it. This is the last week that I'll ever listen to any of those messages from anybody ever, ever, ever. And the price of the Discord membership is going up at the end of this week. This is the last week that the Discord... It's Thursday today, Friday's tomorrow. By the time you're looking at it next, if you haven't done something about it in the next 24 to 72 hours, the prices have gone up, or you've lost your human after all, or both, okay? As in, you could be in there right now and then thinking this time next week, ah, shit, this sucks having to pay over $100 a month to get membership here with this thing. Wouldn't it be shitty? Wouldn't it be shitty? That's happening this week. That's happening this week. Don't say you didn't get a warning. That's happening this week. I'm making it very clear. You've heard it here. You heard it here. If you haven't heard it here, then I'm sorry. This is the show. This is the Rocky Outcrop show. I'm live. I'm called Rocky Outcrop. I do this every day, and I put my heart and soul into it. I really do. I try my very, very hardest. And if you're not here watching this right now, then that doesn't care. Thanks.